Shalom, giving all praises, honors, and glories unto Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the Church of Great Millstone, and shalom to the sincere, hopeful elect. Here's your brother Kodash Payah. And in this lesson, we're going to get into how they're trying to make everyone one people, as the scriptures say, a one world government, right? Even going back to ancient Babylon, you see? So I'm going to get this scripture in the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. And he was bringing about these different heathenistic customs, killing people if they kept the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of their abilities, rehearsing holy days, even praying unto the Lord. Right? Now, that's happening. That's the same thing that's happening now. So you have this gradualism going on where they're taking people's liberties and giving them fines, or even sentencing them into prison for not following policy to these unrighteous decrees, as the scriptures say in Isaiah chapter 10 verse 1. So this is the same spirit that they're in, the nation of Edom, Esau, the so-called white people. And this was during the time of the Greco-Roman period, which they're in that same spirit to this day, right? Because there's nothing new under the sun. They're trying to make everybody, the globe, one, using what? This whole scandemic, right? Which the jab would ultimately lead to that chip, which is what? The hour of temptation. You see? Even going back to ancient Babylon in Genesis the 11th chapter, in the first verse it says what? And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. So that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to have this one world religion, one world government, one world currency. Even with their military, right? They got UN, the United Nations. You see? And which was originally called the League of Nations, right? Which, let's read a little bit. It says the League of Nations was the first worldwide governmental organization whose principal mission was to maintain world peace. That's why you have the United Nations troops, right? Which they call the blue helmets with the white trucks. You see? And it's not for peace. That's what they're persuading people to think it is. It says, funded on the 10th January 20 following the Paris Peace Conference that ended the First World War. It ceased operations on the 20th of April 1946. And we're heading to that World War III. But that just going a little bit back into how certain things were formulated, like the Treaty of Rome, right? You have also the Club of Rome, which is pretty much the same, basically the same thing, and that's why you have different unions, like the European Union, African Union, the Asian Union, right? And I believe also they're trying to come up with a North American Union, which unites Canada and I believe Mexico. 10 unions to complete a one world government. And I don't know if that's going to happen for sure, but it's not a coincidence why they have these different unions of the earth. Because a lot of these kings of the earth, the government, are in bed together, right? They're and this is why the scriptures speak about how I should try all the world. See, in Revelation chapter, let's get that real quick. So this is Revelation chapter 3 verse 10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which is only referring to as towards the elect, right? Which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So this is showing, that right there is showing you that this is a global thing. You see? That's why the Lord is going to bring this World War III over in the Middle East. Yeah, called, in Joel, it speaks about the valley of decision. Yahweh Shaphat, Lord's judgment, if I'm not mistaken. So let's get that. It's going to come upon all the world. But as far as that word temptation, I believe I got it the last time, but we're going to get it again. Right?
Strong's G 3986, Pyrasmas. Pyrasmas.
Right? An experiment, attempt, trial, proving the trial made of you by my bodily condition, since condition served as to test the love of the Galatian towards Paul. Okay, the trial of man's fidelity, integrity, virtue, consistency, just like Job, right? He held his integrity, as the scriptures say. So this is all like trial runs, tests, preludes. What it say? Experiment. You see? So you had the first wave, the second wave, this variant, that variant, all psychological effect. And that's why you have something called the Milgram experiment, right? Where it states the Milgram experiment on obedience to authority figures was a series of social psychology experiments conducted by Yale University psychologist Stanley Milgram. They measured the willingness of a study participant, men from a diverse range of occupations with varying levels of education, to obey an authority figure who instructed them to perform acts conflicting with their personal conscience. Wow. So with this whole new 6 feet apart, a new payment system, digital payment, digital passports. Oh, if you don't get this, because they're making these into a law, right? They're turning this into a law to where if you don't comply, then you can get locked up. You can, you know what I mean? You could be sentenced to a FEMA detention center or whatever, right? But the thing is, the way they had these waves, then they cut off there was a certain cyber attacks, right? Then they took the food off of the shelves in the supermarkets. They stopped the trucks from traveling at certain time period, right? And then they seen how people was reacting, with the protests and how they reacting in schools and how employees react to it, governors, so on and so forth. They do these trial runs, these test runs, right? Military exercises, see, before, so that way when things really hit full-fledged, they already practice it. Because, see, what they do is, they do things systematically, right? Strategically, step by step, seeing how people react so they could prepare on all these different areas, right? So, and there's no new thing under the sun, man. Right? So that way they can fully establish when they usher in the martial law to mandate the chip for their what? One world currency, one new world order. See? Because they've always been studying the reactions of people like a fucking rat race or a T-maze, a maze, and using people as experiments, and also doing that with these different jabs as experiments, like guinea pigs, man. Obedience to authority and experimental view. See, an experiment found unexpectedly that a very high proportion of the subject will fully obey the instructions. Damn. Just like even with 9/11, which was an inside job, so they could pass something called the Patriot Act. And they saw the reactions of the people. That's why you have order out of chaos. You know? So you can read this. I just wanted to bring that out. Also, yeah, you have this, which is even in your on the back of your dollar bill, Novus Ordo Seclorum, which is in Latin meaning New World Order. All right. Then I got a picture here, the Club of Rome. The Club of Rome is a non-profit, non-government NGO, international intellectual think tank. It is presently headquartered in Germany. And that also reminds me how they have their international banks all throughout different countries of the world. Besides, I believe, North Korea and some other places. That's why they try to bring in troops in those areas. See, but we're not... One thing the scriptures say, I believe Paul stated it, correct me if I'm wrong, where he said that we are not ignorant of Satan's devices. The Club of Rome brings together scientists, economists, businessmen, international high civil servants, head of state, and former head of state from all 5 continents, to explore the future of humankind. And this is why you have something called Operation Paperclip, when they took the wise men from Germany, to create their bombs. That's why the scriptures speak about them, their miracles, how they bring fire from heaven. You see? You have Hiroshima and Nagasaki, when they created the atom bomb. That's what the scriptures speak about. The Lord created the Smiths, ultimately, right? So this is why in Job chapter 20, let's get that real quick. This is Job chapter 20, verse 1. No, verse 23. It says, when he is about to fill his belly, God shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. So while these elites feel like, their pride is up in the skyscrapers, they about to establish their one world government, their whole 2030 agenda, propaganda, right? Agenda 21, fulfilling what it states in the Georgia Guidestones. When they feel like they got the world in their hands, right? In their palms, and all they should do is crush it, make a fist, so to speak. They got this one world currency, one world government, one world religion, one world army. But that's when the Lord is going to intervene. You got something called the divine intervention, like it tells you in Isaiah chapter 59, verse 19. You see? It says, he shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him throughout. It is drawn and cometh out of the body, yea, the glittering sword cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon him. So why in the 5th verse, this is what the triumphing of the wicked is but for a moment, roughly paraphrasing. So that's why America, aka Babylon, is going to be destroyed with thermonuclear weapons. These missiles, these and the warheads that come with it. In the midst of World War III, and that's when Yahweh Shah shall come with the holy angels, man, to destroy and also to redeem his elect, which is going to be a remnant. So anyway, with that, I hope this lesson was edifying. Till next time, Shalom.